When you're in a state of acceptance, you're no longer in resistance because you've taken the unacceptable and you've made it acceptable without condoning it, but without condemning it. Greetings and welcome back to the next stage of regulating stress, anxiety, and depression. It's all about managing our emotions so that they don't manage us, so they don't mismanage us. All right, so this next section is entitled Tune Up, Tune In, and Turn On. Because we see such a really blinkered, monochrome version of the entire universe. Just as we know dogs can smell way beyond what we can smell, stuff we don't want to smell. Their sight, like cat's sight in darkness, is way beyond ours. So there is a lot more perspective to what we're actually seeing and doing, and it goes way beyond that. And once you start to really look at it closely, and you start to look at some of the quantum studies that are making major breakthroughs, you then actually realize that there is a hidden order to the entire universe. Yes, while it looks like absolute chaos to us because we just micro-focused on this tiny few pixels, so it looks like random stuff just comes out of everywhere and smacks everything to sideways. But if you're able to macroscope really, really far out and see a much broader perspective, you then start to see, okay, hang on, there's an intelligence in this universe. It's a consciousness, and actually there is a infinite intelligence that is actually in charge, and it is actually guiding everything. There is a hidden order. I'll give you an example. If you look at your heart beating, you don't have to think that into existence. If you look at your digestion, you don't have to think that into existence either. It occurs for you. Now that's a personal level. Now take it to the next level. On a global level, if we just leave Mom Nature well alone, she orders herself perfectly. We don't actually have to intervene because it takes care of itself. Now let's look at a universal level. If we look at the planets, all the planets are on a perfect elliptical, and they follow through cycles. Okay, that everything is in its place and happens as it should. So we don't often see this very clearly. We don't really picture this, and we think that we're just here at the mercy of everything, and that there's actually no point where there actually is. There is a rhyme and a reason to all of this, and pretty much most of this time that rhyme and reason and this intelligence is actually pushing us towards our divine purpose. It is actually there for us and happening for us and not happening to us. So that's a Tony Robbins quote. Dr. John DeMartini says it another way, and he says, life is not in the way, it's on the way. So there's a book written by Michael Newton, who's like a psychologist, and he does hypnotherapy, and he had about 25 subjects, and he would hypnotize all of them, and he then brought them to the space beyond their current physical awareness and said, what did you do before you were born? And all of them said a similar story, that they all said that they sat down with a soul council, and they actually brainstormed certain specific lessons that you were going to that you chose to incarnate into in ways that you would want to expand yourself and grow. That's pretty mind-blowing. So all of the stuff that we think that actually happens to us could actually been super consciously conspired. And I have a quote where I say that your existence, as well as the existence of everything else, is not random. It has been super consciously conspired. Okay, and part of your success recipe is that your unique individuality that sets you apart from everybody else is your sacred superpower that we need to step into. And sometimes knowing what is our unique superpower is probably the most easiest way to show it, is where we feel the most, where the things that come and spite us and smite us are our biggest beacons to showing us our authentic route, the path that'll get us to our most fulfillment. So that's the tune up and tune in, and that's pretty much the way of finding a way to rationalize that all things happen, and we can still be in alignment with it. Next, we look at acceptance. Now, acceptance is the last stage of the Kubler-Ross 5 stages, and that's pretty much where the magic happens. So I want to really state here that just accepting something doesn't mean that you are condoning it, okay? It means that you are allowed to not condone it. What I'm not wanting you to do is to condemn it. especially the person that spited and smited you. It's as much as we want to condemn them, that puts us in the same polarity as them. That which you resist persists because you become the same frequency as that which you are resisting. Hurt people. So you pretty much become that which it is that you are condemning and that which you are resisting. That's a big thing to get your head around. So while I'm saying that don't condemn it, but that doesn't mean you have to condone it. It means it also means that non-condoning, which is you allowing yourself to put your boundaries out there. So you're allowed to say, listen, I don't condone that. These are my boundaries, and please respect them. And you will get some people that will not respect your boundaries and will still cross them. But then you have the power then to actually cut ties with those people and not hang out with them anymore. And that's your right. It's your part of your self-love and yourself, so it's honoring your own integrity and your own sovereignty and your own space. When people do come and crap on our boundaries, yes, we don't want to react by react as in react, doing the same thing and replaying this thing over and over and over again. We want to respond by not letting them control how we react, but we want to respond in ways that serve our higher good, even if it means cutting ties with that person if they're never going to respect our boundaries. Obviously, our boundaries need to be healthy and not narcissistic. When you're in a state of acceptance, you're no longer in resistance because you've taken the unacceptable and you've made it acceptable without condoning it, but without condemning it. An amazing thing happens when that happens because your heart starts to open. And I love this saying where it says a heart that's broken is beginning to open. A heart that's closed really hurts because love is our natural state. And when we stop ourselves from doing our natural state, we would misalign with our natural state. We experience it as heartache or pain or emotional distress. So it is important to remember that an open heart heals while a closed heart hurts. I'll say it again. An open heart heals while a closed heart hurts. Just as a closed mind reacts and an open mind responds. Now that brings me to speak about the trap in the door, because we kind of think that in our state of our made up mind, our fixed mindset, that we feel that we have a trap door that is our only escape. We believe that we only have one place of emancipation, one place that'll free us from all of this, and we have it in our mind that is the only way. Now, this trap door is literally a trapped door. It cannot be opened. It's stuck, and whatever we believe in our fantasy that is going to help open it, that the person that holds the key is never going to come and own up to what they have done, is unable to face or feel what you're feeling. So pretty much we sit there in quiet desperation, looking at this door that's trapped, knowing that it is absolutely locked, and with an absolute helplessness and hopelessness and aloneness that nothing is going to open it up and help us out of it. When the truth is that trap door is not actually your path. Your path is actually for you to transcend it. And once you do transcend it, then you're able to see, hang on, there's a hell of a lot more options. And once you do that, the freedom and the empowerment that is on the other side is euphoric. So how do you get there? So by getting there is to balance everything out. Once you've got to that stage of acceptance, you then look at, now, I've been seeing this now with one perception, with absolute condemnation, and I haven't looked at what possible benefits this could be for me, because everything in life works in duality. We're in the relative realm. So everything that is happening to you comes in advantages and disadvantages. It comes with pros and cons. Like a magnet has the north and south pole, and a battery cell has a positive and a negative. So once you then open up our perceptions and we start seeing, hang on, how can this actually serve me? In what way could this be a divine providence? In what way could this be knocking me out of my fixed mindset, expanding my perceptions and allowing me to grow? And once you start seeing that, often in hindsight, that which we think has been our biggest hurdle has been our biggest key to our growth and success and transcendence. Now, this isn't the easiest awareness to come to, because we live in a polarized world of that's right, that's wrong, and there's no gray whatsoever. But when you can actually make this happen, you'll actually then see, once you follow it through, that there is a natural process and a path that actually occurs. And once you start seeing that there is the good and the bad in this ugly, then you start to see what are the positives besides just the negatives. An amazing thing occurs, and you start to transcend it emotionally with not a lot of effort. And then in hindsight, you'll actually, when people say to you, once you've worked through all of this, that it's like, would you ever change what had actually happened? And a lot of people then in hindsight say, no, I wouldn't have, because this is what's brought me to my path. I now felt it, I've seen it, I've walked it. It's brought me to a state of much higher awareness, much greater awareness, bigger growth, a lot more empathy, a lot more humility even. And we're able to then understand the strength that lies in our vulnerability. I'm able to take other people's hands and walk them through it also. And then you'll start to notice that once you hit this transcending of all of this, and you're able to get to the place of acceptance and actually an open heart where you are able to release, then with that natural transcendence that happens, you naturally move into a state of appreciation and gratitude. It just cannot go any other way. It's an amazing feeling, and it's quite euphoric. Now, it doesn't happen overnight, and having to walk through all the darkness and the emotions and the stress and the anxiety and the depression, it's a normal state of progression. I just don't want everyone to be there for 3 years long like I was. Now, this progression that happens, that takes you from complete entrapment to openness and to empowerment and to greater growth and a higher awareness, it's unforced, because when it happens naturally as its natural progression, it's not like you have to force it. Whereas holding on to everything and trying to manipulate everything and trying to force stuff takes an enormous amount of effort. And like I've said all along, the biggest healing that we have is our shifts in perception. It's the mental shift, it's the conscious shift, because ultimate reality is that it's consciousness, it is an intelligence. And it's there connected to you as it is connected to me. And the times that we're able to quieten down our minds and ease and balance stuff out, then we open ourselves up for inspiration and intuition, and it whispers to us. And then we normally have our greatest insights. Great, I want to commend you. You guys are doing great. The next clip is going to be, I'm going to be using a live looping to try and, so that, because it aids attention, retention, and recall. And we're going to be using that to go through the 5 stages of the healing process. And these 5 stages, these are tools that you can go through to help you walk you through all these stages so that you can get to the end with less struggle, with less resistance, and with less trauma. So I'll see you on the other side. Peace out, much love.
The Big Cigar.